You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear.
So, Sandi Mines, one of the things that I think about when I think about this moment that we're in, right, this post-COVID moment, is that there are brands out there that are like made for the moment. And you and I deal with a lot of brands, and we look at a lot of footwear, and we talk to a lot of companies every single day. But there's one brand in particular that during this time, whether it was this move to casualization and outdoor activity, or it was in support of our first responders in such trying times, there's a brand that is like head and shoulders above all the rest. And that's who we have here today. And so I want to turn over to you to welcome our guest, because I'm super excited about this brand. It's on fire. It was on fire pre-COVID. It's certainly on fire now post-COVID. And I'm super excited to talk about it. So who do we have with us on the program today?
Thank you, Matt. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Michelle Poole from Crocs. She's the president of Crocs, and really looking forward to talking to Michelle about the collaborations and the growth and the fun, fresh, new designs and all of the excitement around this brand that has been going on, obviously, for the last couple of years, but is really continuing to push ahead and come up with some new, exciting new collaborations and new styles and products. I'm just thrilled to introduce Michelle Poole. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
We always start out by asking our guests to share their shoe story. Like, how did you enter the footwear market? What is the journey that brought you to Crocs?
I love telling this story. Maybe I'll start at the end. So I think at the end of this year, it'll be 30 years in the branded and footwear space. So it's kind of a long story. But I'll maybe just go back to the beginning. I've actually worked for 7 different brands over my career, and 5 of the 7 have been footwear. So I've been in footwear for probably 23 or so years of that 30. If I go all the way back to the beginning, I graduated from a course that was the first of its kind in England, which was called at the time fashion marketing. And really, at that time, merchandising didn't exist. And it was really the intersection of very much a design-led course with kind of business skills. And it really brought the art and the science together. And I was the first graduating class of that degree. And it really set me up for what's been an unbelievably exciting career in a range of brands and a range of roles that have either been pure product roles, pure marketing roles, merchandising roles, or kind of leading up to where I am today, which is really I oversee the commercial, the product engine, and the marketing team. So it's really, I think my whole career has been about really bringing great brands to life through exciting product. And every brand is it's like being in a relationship. Every brand has a unique personality. And I've really been so lucky really to work with a range of brands that I've been able to really make a difference in and bring their full kind of potential to bear. So I'm happy to talk if you're interested in sort of brand by brand or maybe some of the highlights. So over to you.
All right, Michelle. So I want to talk to you about the ways in which you are leading Crocs, such an iconic brand. We talked about, the collaborations. We talked about how you are working, you've served the first responders and those in the medical community during such a difficult time, which was the right thing to do. But you keep reinventing and reimagining Crocs as a brand. In this era of such digital distraction for all of us, for the American consumer, there's so much noise. How do you do that? What's the strategy behind driving that much interest for Crocs to your consumers?
I think it's a few different elements. I think, to start with, we're a brand with an icon. And I think, I've been lucky to work for a number of brands that have icons at their heart. So I think it stems from really knowing who we are as a brand and what we stand for. And our icon, when I joined the organization, probably wasn't bright and shiny. It was something that was being somewhat overlooked. So, from both a product and a marketing point of view, we really spent a lot of time reinvigorating the appeal of the icon. Our challenge when I joined Crocs wasn't awareness. We had incredibly high awareness. We had really low relevance, which meant that many, many consumers, nearly all consumers, knew who we were, but kind of said no, thank you. Right? It's not a brand that's relevant to me. So, really, at the very heart of the resurgence of Crocs, of the brand turnaround, and now I would say the really sort of long-term growth trajectory is really making the brand relevant to a very broad and democratic base of consumers around the world who can look at Crocs and say, that's a brand for me.
Yeah, we've loved watching some of the new collaborations that you've put forward recently. When I look back at some of the designers you worked with, and Balenciaga, and then doing all-terrain clogs, and doing General Mills, and all of these fun, creative collaborations, it just takes you by surprise, and it's fun, and they're different colorways and styles, and they're speaking to different people, but there's not one person that I know that doesn't get super excited about seeing all the fun, fresh new colors and products and collabs that you've done. So I just want to say, first of all, congratulations to you. Are you looking to kind of go into a new category, or what's to come for Crocs in the next year or so? I know you can't give us too much. You don't want to tell us too much because you like to make these exciting new launches and drops and all of that. But can you share with us a little bit about the future of Crocs and what you have in store for us?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. And thank you for the feedback on the collaborations. We love to hear that we kind of excite and delight our consumers. So really we have I would say there are three key areas of growth for us, Sandi. And it's not brand new. It's something we've been working at and focused on now for several years, which is clogs, sandals, and personalization. And those are the three growth pillars for us that, have delivered the growth in recent years, and really we believe will be the lion's share of the growth over the next, let's say, 5-year horizon. If I start with clogs, you can expect us to continue to create some exciting partnerships and marketing campaigns and stories around clogs with the existing icon, what we call our classic. But you will also see us push the boundaries of clog design in that molded innovation space. Some of those elements you've started to perhaps see in our collaborations already, but we're really going to continue that. What's interesting, I think, during COVID and now as we come out is that we've seen a much broadening acceptance of the clog silhouette as just another footwear silhouette. I kind of joke that clogs are sweatpants for the feet, but really I think in terms of ease and comfort, easy on, easy off, and just being now a truly accepted silhouette in the marketplace, that's been a really big shift. So we believe we can continue to capitalize on the broad appeal and versatility of the clog silhouette. So you'll see a lot of things happening for men, women, kids, for sure. Big piece of our business. The second pillar is sandals. So sandals is something we've been working on now for several years, and it's an enormous opportunity for the brand. It's actually about a $30 billion addressable market for us. And there are a few different players in the marketplace, but we believe as a brand that we're really well positioned to take market share. When you think about our material, the ease of molded product, lightweight, versatile, comfortable, we believe we can create a lot of stylish options. And we also have personalization. The gibbets that go in the holes on the clogs can now be applied to the sandals, and consumers absolutely love to personalize their product. So sound is going to be a really big area of opportunity for us. Again, with some of the COVID behaviors continuing now as we move forward, we see a silhouette like slides now becoming not just a seasonal play, but really a year-round play. You see consumers wearing sandals and slides and socks. and it's just another foot covering. So we think there is an enormous opportunity in sandals. And then the third, which I just touched on, is personalization. So the Jibbitz are our secret sauce. We have a lot of product, not all, but a high amount of our product can be personalized, has the holes, and consumers just have shown us that they just love to make Crocs their own. So when you think about personalization, really the footwear becomes a blank canvas for self-expression. And then we truly put self-expression and personalization in the hands of the consumer, and they can make their Crocs product fit their lifestyle, fit their interests, and really reflect their personality. And that really resonates with our consumers. So you will see innovation in those three areas. And we have got an amazing pipeline of product.
That's great. A lot of people love to have fun with the Jibbitz, love to have fun with, mixing up the colorways and all of that. I have a 14-year-old son who wears his fur-lined Crocs to, sports activities. And I have a younger kid that wears, just an assortment of Crocs with different Jibbitz. And my husband and my daughter, there's not one person, men, women, kids, everyone just finds a reason for wanting to grab a pair of just comfortable Crocs and wear them in and out. The ease of it, the fun, fresh way about them that's really fun. So that's really cool. I love the idea of self-expression in that way.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Michelle. I will say that the Kentucky Fried Chicken collab was one of my favorites. I heard they smelled like chicken. I've only heard that as a rumor. But my personal favorite, and listeners of the podcast do know this, is that I have a pair of Batman Crocs. It merges my favorite childhood superhero with one of my favorite footwear brands, and I wear them regularly and with great pride because, I'm a kid at heart. So but all that is, I digress. Talk to me about the ways in which you take the iconic silhouette and then you improve upon it. The all-terrain Croc comes to mind, right? How are you taking that iconic silhouette, staying true to it, but also building in some features that consumers might not be aware of or might be asking you to create because they're so in love with the brand as a whole?
It's a great question, Matt. So the way we think about the opportunities are, we sort of think there are infinite opportunities, but there are a few different areas that we really focus on. In the fashion space, what we really see happening in the marketplace is height. Height has always been a feature of, I would say, the style and the dressier space, but we really now see in the sneaker and the casual space, we see a lot of height. Platforms are really trending. So we have an opportunity to take our consumer up in height, and we've got platform product. We've got a lot of new product in the pipeline coming second half of this year and into 2023 that gives her height options, or him. Another area that we're really looking at is sport and the athletic space. So I mentioned this earlier. You'll see us really pushing the boundaries on molded innovation in the clog space through a sport lens. And then you call that all-terrain, which is our adventure version. There's a great opportunity to add more features and benefits. It's sort of like the SUV of a core clog. Rubber pods that create more grip, adjustable back straps that create more kind of lock-in and versatility and fit. So those are just three examples where we can really look at the marketplace, we can really look at consumer trends, and we can develop our clog icon and what we call iterate into new spaces that give us an opportunity to elevate, to differentiate, to segment. And then if you layer on then either licensed ideas or collaborations into those spaces, you kind of take them even further.
That's great. I love to hear about that, about just kind of continuing to evolve in terms of, what you're using in the market. And I understand that people are dressing up more. People are getting back into the office now. So, what have you seen shift in the last year? Any surprises that come to mind for you over the last year or so that's really been trending that you weren't expecting it to blow out the way that it has?
Gosh, I'm not sure there's anything that I really have thought. I didn't expect that, but I do think one of the things I called out, which is product moving away from seasonality, has definitely been an outcome, and really trying to figure out where that goes as sort of a post-COVID world settles back in. When everyone was inside, you could wear a slide, you could wear a fur-lined boot, you could wear a fleece jacket, you could wear a t-shirt. And so I think figuring out where seasonality is going to land, and obviously things like global warming and climate change is affecting how people wear, what people wear and how they wear it as well. You can be in New York City at Thanksgiving and be sweltering in a t-shirt these days. So I think that is less surprise, but more just we need to stay really curious, and we need to really kind of watch what is going to happen with seasonality. I think that's one area. I think what, again, maybe not a surprise, but what maybe more of a delight is that the consumer and our partners, our wholesale partners' response to new product, where we push the boundaries and we create new silhouettes. There is really strong consumer response from it. Anything new just seems to evaporate. Whether it's a full-blown collaboration or it's bringing a licensed entity to life. We recently launched Cinnamon Toast Crunch, the way you can actually smell the cinnamon. The consumer response to some of these new ideas is really, really strong. So that gives us, I would say, conviction and confidence to keep pushing forward and keep innovating.
That's great. And I remember the last time we had a conversation, we were on a webinar together, I think, and we talked a little bit about company culture and how you keep things fun, at work, and how it was a challenging time to onboard people and keep everyone engaged and excited about working together in such a, fragmented world, with working remote being so prominent. How is it now that people are kind of coming back into the office more, collaborating more in person? Have you had, tell us a little bit about that experience for me.
I think it's continuing to evolve, is what I would say, Sandi. I think, yes, there are definitely some shifts to having people back in person. I think that there's definitely benefit to that, but we're also not trying to go ditch to ditch. I think we're trying to listen hard to our teams and figure out what is working, and if things aren't working, we keep listening and we keep adjusting. So I think, we continue to try and offer our teams flexibility and create the right environments for just working together and creating the best outcome. But I think the work is never done. I think the world continues to shift, and we're still in turbulent times. So I think understanding what a new normal is, I'm putting normal kind of in quotes, because I think I'd be crazy to declare like, oh yeah, we're kind of post-COVID and now we know how we're going to work. I think we keep evolving. We're a global company, so Americas is in one place, but as we look at Europe, they're in different places, and unfortunately, in the middle of a war in the middle of Europe. If you look at Asia, we've just come out of some really extreme lockdowns for our team, who are Shanghai based, like 6 weeks of being locked inside. That's beginning to change. They're beginning to loosen that. Japan and Korea, India are in different places again. So I guess we just are trying to stay flexible and trying to evolve and trying to work with our teams to keep figuring out what is the best way to work together.
Yeah, I think agility is the name of the game, whether it's securing product or managing a global workforce, right, Michelle? And so I want to talk about one of the takeaways we've heard recently, and we've been tracking it with our own data, is inventory levels, at least in the US, are in a much more healthier spot, but consumer demand is starting to ebb. And so as we find the log jams that were at the Port of LA and Long Beach are starting to dislodge, and container rates are coming down, and all the things, when you take away demand, some of the things that happen that make for at least a cheaper environment as it relates to the movement of goods. How are you managing inventory? You guys seem to be recession proof. You also seem to be COVID proof in the sense, but how are you managing inventory from a broad global perspective as that pendulum swings back and forth as it relates to the industry and its access to product for consumers?
Gosh, we could probably spend the next 3 hours talking about this, but I guess high level, we're trying to maintain as much flexibility as we can. As I said, we're in different places around the world, actually. So, while we're seeing some interesting kind of post-COVID, sort of a new world in the US, again, Europe and Asia are seeing some different things. So we're trying to think very situationally and not just have a kind of one-size-fit-all solution. I do think we're trying to stay really, really close to the consumer, our customers, our key wholesale customers, and just trying to glean as much intel as we can. So collectively, we can try and make the right decisions. I think understanding what consumers are looking for next and kind of where the puck is going is really important. I think in times of scarcity and during COVID, it was very unknown. And then I think, with everyone not quite sure how much supply we were going to get, there was probably an emphasis on playing it safe on kind of core and on basics. And then now I think as consumers are kind of being very thoughtful and careful about where they spend their money, it seems like people are going out again now and actually wanting to dress up a bit more or wanting something special. And really saving their money for something special. And so that requires, again, more agility. So I think it's not one thing, Matt, but I think it's asking a lot of questions, making sure that we're sort of real time, really studying the business and learning from our partners of what are you hearing. And I think right now, we're really putting an emphasis on sharing information and gathering information to try and put together our best view of where things are going collectively. There's certainly no view that, one or two people at the top of the organization have all the answers. I think we're just trying to listen and learn and respond accordingly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I've been really keen or kind of tapping into this thing you said at the start of our conversation, and that was around relevancy, right? Being relevant as a brand. Yeah. Not a name ID is one thing, but if you're not relevant, then what's the point? And as I think about the collaborations, like the Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Kentucky Fried Chicken or Post Malone or whatever it is, and maybe even a drive towards some scarcity of product for those high demand items, or even if you hit StockX, guess who's on StockX now, right? Crocs. So you think about there's like this maturation there that helps drive the relevancy. And I can see there's this method to the ways in which you've laid out a strategy. And I think that's playing well in the marketplace for Crocs. And so, Michelle, thank you for coming on and sharing your story and sharing your vision for the brand. And I may or may not have my analysis right, but it seems like you guys are more relevant than ever.
Well, that's what we're working on. I think, we always remind ourselves like the consumer gets to decide how they spend their money. So I think what's critical is we can never kind of rest on our laurels and say, oh, we got that figured out. Because the minute you think you have, something comes up along to trip you up. So I think in some ways you lie awake more when your brand is really, really strong than when it's weak, right? So, because you got to keep it going. So appreciate all the positive sentiments about what we're doing. Thank you.
That means if you're lying awake when your brand is going strong, Michelle's lying awake a lot. So Michelle, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. To our listeners, this is another example of the ways in which we are super fortunate as an organization and as a podcast to host these critical leaders in our industry. Not everyone has access to these conversations with the leadership of the footwear industry, which is a $100 billion industry here in the US. And so we are thankful for our listeners. We ask that you go to shoeandshow.com to check out all of our catalog, because there's a plethora of great conversations ranging from fashion and design and development all the way to sourcing and supply chain and politics and retail, you name it. And so we also ask that you spread the word and rate us should you feel necessary to give us 5 stars, because those are the only ratings that we accept. And in the meantime, on behalf of Sandi, Michelle, this is Matt Priest, and Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.